Right, let's get this done. The Unit 8 project. In this lesson, make concentric circles. You'll create an intricate circular design. Let's open up Inkscape. Once you get your Inkscape open, go ahead and click the number 5 to size that canvas to your window, and make sure you have your layers and your fill and stroke. So remember, layers is over here in layers. Ding. And fill and stroke is under object, fill and stroke. And if you can't find other things, gosh, everything else should be there. And then you're going to name it File, Save As. Find your Digital Arts 2 folder, and this is Unit 8. Okay, this is going to be, I'm going to just put this in my balance folder. Okay, and you're going to name it. Make sure you name it correctly by your first and last name. They come at the beginning of your file name. So my first and last name is Rachel Girot. What's yours? You'll type that there. And then you can call this Balance. And you'll notice that it already says it's going to save it as Inkscape file, which is correct. This is your SVG file. Perfect. And you can see the name at the top left corner. Planning your project. In this project, you'll create a circular design made up of concentric circles. Concentric circles are circles of different sizes, all sharing the same center point. This makes an image that looks like a bullseye with small circles nested inside a larger one. You'll draw this entire project without the use of another image. Here are some things you might want to think about before you begin. What colors do you want to use? Do you want to use high or low contrasting colors? Do you want colors with high or low lightness or value? What kinds of abstract designs do you like? Do you like geometrical designs, or do you like designs that look more like organic? Do you like intricate designs, or do you like more simple designs? Let's draw a circle. We're going to use the ellipse tool here. Okay, and you're going to hold down what? You're going to hold down Control to control the dimensions and make it a circle. Nice. If you don't like your fill and stroke, just go to your fill and stroke box and change that. Or you can do it down here, right? So, like, I don't even know if I have a stroke. I don't. You see that X right there? That means I don't have a stroke. There's another way to tell if I have a stroke. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, it says none. Okay? So I don't have a stroke, which for me right now is fine. We'll see if we need one later. If you want to change the fill or the color, you can just click any color on the palette. I'm going to go with red. Or you can use your fill, and I love the wheel. You know about that wheel. I tell you about that. Yes, I love that because you can see the changes. Dial that thing around the hue. Oh, hoo, hoo, hue-wee. All right, these are the directions that are in our lesson, in our online textbook. It says we want to open up that fill and stroke panel, like I just showed you, object, fill and stroke. And it says to click over here on HSL, hue, saturation, and lightness, and it wants us to take the blur slider down here and make sure it's at 0. Mine's already at 0, but if you got a blur, look at how pretty that looks. Aww. Yeah, if yours is any higher than 0, bring it down. Make sure your opacity is set at 100%. If it wasn't, look at what would happen. It'd look pink and like you could almost see through it, right? So make sure that's at 100%. Click Save. All right, and then we're going to go over to the stroke panel here, and you're going to click right here. It's going to, if you actually have any RAM left, and you hold your cursor over it, it'll tell you that's the flat color. You want flat color, click on that right there. Oh my goodness, look at what I got. That's crazy. It says set the flat color to black. Okay. Mine's set to black. I would just click down here personally because that's black down in the bottom left of the palette. But I probably have to make sure my stroke style isn't dashed lines, right? So I'm just going to make that a regular stroke. And it's pretty thick. I'm going to decrease my stroke style, the width here. You guys should all be pros at this by now. Oh my word, I just read the next direction. It says it wants us to click on the stroke style tab and set the width to 60 pixels. So right now I'm in millimeters, so I got to change that to pixels. You'll have to change yours to pixels too, probably. And then I'm just going to type in 60 and hit tab. Whoa, it's starting to look like a bullseye. Okay, now you're going to click on that fill tab, and you want to click the X for no fill, no paint. Of course, if you're out of RAM like me, nothing happens. So you have to save. And now I have no paint. Lovely. Break path at selected nodes command turns all selected nodes into end nodes. End nodes are the nodes at each end of a path. You can use this command to break up a single path into several smaller point paths. For example, if you had a square path with a node at each corner and then used this command, you would have 4 separate paths that could each be edited separately. Next, you'll use this command to break the circle into separate paths so that you can remove the parts of the circle you don't need. All right, just make sure that your circle is selected. Mine is, and you're going to go to Object. Nope, sorry, Path. Object to Path, and click on that. Now go over and select your node tool. I'll have to hit save first. Okay, and then you're just going to click and drag to select all of your nodes at one time. Did you see how I did that? That was sweet. You just click and drag over everything you want to select. Okay, now you'll notice that there's some node controls up here at the top. So I'm going to hover my cursor over, and I'm going to look for the one that says break path. No, that's join, delete, break path. That's the one right there. Find the one that says break path and click on that. And now click a blank spot anywhere off of the canvas. Come on now. I'm just going to click my selection tool to deselect everything. Okay. Apparently I still need that node tool, and I'm supposed to hold down Shift and click the bottom right segment. I'm not even seeing any segments. Oh, there. Okay. I don't know. I think mine looks different for some reason than what I'm seeing on this screen. It says press and hold the Shift key while you click the top right segment. The bottom right segment and the bottom left segment. I'm just gonna, I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going on at this point. All right, I'm gonna start over. Okay, make sure that the circle is selected. Go to the path menu and click Object to Path. I'm gonna have to click save and try that again. You know what? I think I have to be, you have to have the circle tool when you have that. So I know this is getting confusing. Make sure that it's selected as your circle. All right, with your circle tool, and then go to your path, Object to Path. Okay, I've selected the node tool again, and I can see these 4 nodes pop up. I'm going to click and drag to select all of the circle's nodes. So I just click and drag, and they're all selected. On the node tool controls, I'm going to break path at selected nodes. Okay. Says to click a blank spot to deselect everything, and then press and hold the Shift key while I click the top right segment, the bottom right segment, and the bottom left segment. So Shift, so the top right, that's just the weirdest thing. I don't know, my friends. My picture doesn't look anything like their picture. I can hardly see their picture. I'm gonna go with that and see if it works. Okay, and then hit delete. All right, and then click those and hit delete. Okay, so this is what you want it to look like. I hope you get there. Yeah, I got there. I made it. I've got the little segment that they wanted me to have. Okay, so only the top left segment remains. If not, press Control Z. You can repeat those steps again like I tried to. You'll fix the arc shape and then clone it to create a full circle. Stroke to path command. The stroke to path command converts an object's stroke to path rather than making the whole object into a path. This means that each side of a stroke will have node handles that let you change the shape of each side of the stroke separately. With the object to path command, if a circle were converted to a path, it would have 4 node handles, 1 each at the top, bottom, left, and right sides. With the stroke to path command, if that same circle were converted to a path, it would have 8 node handles, 2 each at the top, bottom, left, and right. Next, you'll convert the circle arc segment's stroke to a path. This will make it easier to decorate the circle later. All right, so I'm going to get my selection tool and just make sure that it is selected. And then it says in your fill and stroke panel, click the stroke style tab. Okay, and we're going to be looking at this cap button over here. So hover over it, and one says butt cap. This is round cap and that's square cap. We want the butt cap. Click on that. And the butt cap button ends the stroke right at the node point, which will make it easier to work with later. Pretty sure I already had a butt cap. Okay, now click on the path menu and do stroke to path. Stroke to path. I might have to click save and do that again just to make sure it took effect. And then once again, click on your node tool. The shape of the arc segment becomes a path, and the arc path's nodes become visible. And notice that there's 2 of them now at each end of the segment. All right, hopefully you've been saving along the way, and just go ahead and grab your selection tool. Just make sure it's selected, and you're going to do Control C to copy it, or you can go Edit, Copy. All right, and then it wants us to come over here off of the canvas and just click a spot there and then hit Control V to paste it there. Or you can do Edit, Paste. Planning a pattern. When you're thinking about decorating something with a pattern, it's good to have an idea of what you want your pattern to look like beforehand. If you have an idea of what you want to do, that will help you choose the tool that will make it easiest to express your idea. For example, if you want your pattern to look geometrical, you'll want to use Inkscape's shape tools. If you want your pattern to look more organic, you'd want to draw your pattern using the calligraphy tool. Take a few moments to think about what kind of pattern you'd like to create before you continue. Tool styles. A tool style is the fill color, stroke color, and style that a tool uses when it draws a line or a shape. Inkscape's default settings are set to maintain tool styles from one tool to the next. For example, if you were drawing circles with a red fill color and a black stroke color, and then switched to the square tool, the squares you drew would also have a red fill color and a black stroke color. Stroke width style doesn't always work well with the calligraphy tool because calligraphy tool has its own width setting. If you use the calligraphy tool after setting the stroke width for another tool, the stroke width style will be added to the width of the calligraphy tool's line. This can result in a much wider line than you want. Next, you'll reset the calligraphy tool's stroke and fill styles to make sure the calligraphy lines you draw look the way you want them to. The steps on the next few pages tell you to use the calligraphy tool, but you can use any drawing tool you want. If you've decided to use a different tool, use the steps on the next page to reset your tool style. You're going to complete these steps to choose a style for the calligraphy tool. You're not going to keep any of these lines you draw because these are just for choosing a style. If you're planning to use a different tool, use these steps to change the tool's stroke width and color. All right, so in the fill and stroke panel on the stroke style tab, we're going to set the width to 0. If you don't the calligraphy line will be wider than the arc segment. So make sure that's at 0. In the toolbox, click the calligraphy tool. All right, over here in the blank space next to this arc, just draw a little line. Whoa, Betsy. The first thing I'm wanting to do is just get rid of my stroke. So I'm going to my stroke and I'm going to click X. And I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to, whoa, I don't have any fill. Oh, brother. It's because they had us drawing that last circle. I'm going to try, I don't know. This might backfire. If I ever do any free thinking while I'm trying to follow these lessons, I usually regret it. Okay. I'm trying to use my common sense right now. There it is. Okay, so now I have a fill with no stroke. Notice that as soon as I added black, boom, that line I drew was there all along. It just didn't have a fill. Okay, so it's a little too thick. So I'm going up here to the controls, and I'm going to decrease the width. And then I'm going to try and draw another line and see what I like the best. So I'm probably going to have a thinner width than that. And just keep drawing until you get the width that you want. I'm guessing that this calligraphy is going to be inside of these little tiny skinny arcs, so I'm going to make mine pretty small. Okay, and then we're supposed to go to the fill-in stroke, and we're supposed to pick a color that you want to use that's going to kind of stand out and contrast against this black arc, but you're not supposed to use white. No white. You got to pick a color. All right, so I'm going to use my wheel. I just, you know, it's my go-to. I like, okay, I'm going to go with that color. Pick yours. All right, and then over here we have some presets. So you can do like the brush, or you can do the dip pen. Ooh, I think that's what I might have been using. You can do a marker. You can do wiggly. Oh, that's funny. You can do splotchy. Whoa, that's crazy. I gotta hit Control Z. And then you can do tracing. Okay, so I'm definitely gonna be going with the dip pen. Pick the tool setting that you'd like. And you'll notice there's also this thinning. I'm not sure what, oh yeah, oh, okay, look at that. Thinning is interesting. I think mine was originally set at 10. I'm gonna try like 4. Huh. This was 10. Doesn't look anything the way it looked. Oh, the width increased all by itself. Imagine that. Somehow that happened. I don't know why. Okay, I like that. Okay, so when you're done messing around, just get the selection tool and then just click and drag over all of that nonsense and hit delete. Click and drag over all of it, hit delete. Okay. Your selection has to be around the entire object in order for it to select it. Good job. All right, so get your selection tool and you're just going to select your original arc, okay? And then you're going to go View, Zoom, View, Zoom, Selection. Whoa, how cool is that? Brings you right up close to your selection. All right, grab your calligraphy tool and let's do some patterns. Yeah, I like this. Woo! Okay, just have some fun with it. Go to town. And if you don't like any of it, you just hit Control Z. If you decide that you want to, do something a little more organized. This could be kind of like tiger stripes. or zebra stripes. Okay, so you can also use some of the shape tools. So get your design drawn, okay? All right, I've got my pattern, and if you don't have yours yet, just pause the video, and when you get your pattern, come right back. All right, make sure you've got your selection tool and just click on the arc to select it. Hold down the shift key while you click one of the shapes or lines that you drew in your pattern. Click on the path menu and hit difference. Ooh. All right, apparently we're going to do that again for our next shape. So I'm going to just click off of it. Make sure you have your select tool, click on the arc, hold down shift and click the next object, go to path and difference. Fun times. Do that to all your shapes. Pause the video while you do that and come back. All right, next you'll use the create tiled clones command to create tiled clones of your arc segment that form a complete circle. In the created tiles clones dialog box, the symmetry tab has many types of symmetries to choose from. Each of the different symmetries uses a combination of effects to change how the tiled clones will appear. The symmetry effects use different combinations of translation, rotation, and reflection. Translation moves a tile sideways or up and down. Rotation spins a tile around. Different symmetries use more or less rotation. Reflection works like a mirror and reflects a mirror image of the original tile. Reflection and reflection means that the tiles are reflected both sideways and up and down. You'll use the CMM, reflection plus 180-degree rotation, to create tiled clones of the arc segment that form a complete circle next. All right, so just make sure that you've got it selected. Go to Edit, Menu, Clone, Create Tiled Clones. All right, in the Create Tiled Clones dialog box, you're going to click Reset. I might have to click Save. I'm not sure if that worked on mine, but we'll see. So under Symmetry, you are going to select that CMM that they talked about. That's reflection plus 180-degree rotation. In your rows and columns, you want both of them to be set for 2. So 2 by 2. And then click Create. And it looks like I'm going to click outside of here and hit the number 5 so that I can see my whole design. I'll close the Created Tiled Clones dialog box now. Okay, now remember this is going to be 4 separate arcs now, so we're going to have to use the selection tool and click and drag to select all 4 of them. Go to the Object menu and click Group, and it becomes one object. Save. The Path Union command combines a path and other selected paths or objects into a single path. Any nodes that are inside where the paths overlap will be removed, leaving only the nodes on the outside of the path's union. For example, if you use the Path Union command with a circular path at the top of a square path, the nodes of the circle inside the square will be removed, but 2 new nodes will be added where the circle meets the square. You'll use the Path Union command to help decorate the outside of an arc next. All right, so on your arc copy that you had made over here, you're just going to grab a tool and let's just make some stars. So I'm going to grab the star tool and I'll click up here where it has the star, and I'm going to make I don't know, 10 cornered star, I guess. And then you're just going to make sure you have a nice color selected and draw. Woo! Remember, it's not supposed to be white. I'm going to zoom in. We could actually, yeah, I think I'll just save and click my magnifying glass and zoom. That didn't work, did it? Hit 5, bring it back. There we go. So I can see what I'm doing a little bit better, get a little more concise. Grab that star tool. Like to have yellow as its fill. And for some reason it didn't save my settings. I'm going to, it says my fill is yellow and that my stroke is red. Okay, let me just draw one. Okay, I need to, like, I don't need a stroke that big, right? So I'm just gonna decrease that stroke. I'm just gonna put 0. I don't want a stroke. All I want is the, and I could actually click an X after I hit save on the stroke paint. I can make no paint on the stroke. And then for my fill, I've got a solid yellow, and that's how it's gonna look when I draw these. So I'm just gonna delete that one, and then here we go. So you want your stars or whatever it is that you're drawing to also expand to the outer edge of your arc. So if there were any that you didn't like, just select those real quick with your selection tool. Get rid of those. And if you need to move any of them, grab them and move them. Okay, and my snap's on. Shift 5 to get rid of snap. Is that what it is? Let me find out. Yep, no more snap. Shift 5 gets rid of snap. Okay, perfect. So it's almost where I want it. I'm gonna move these so those are poking out just a little bit more. All right, there we go. And maybe I want that over here more. Okay, so once you get that the way that you like it, we're just gonna have the selection tool handy and click and drag to select all of the shapes and the arc. So you have to do your click and drag over the entire arc. We're gonna click the path menu, and then we're going for union. Woo! This makes it so the arc and the shapes are all joined together as a single object. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing. Make sure it's selected and go to clone, create tiled clones. We're going to make sure that the rows are set to 2 and make sure you have CMM selected and create. All right, so I'm gonna have to click outside of this and I'm gonna hit 5 so I can see. And for some reason, these just didn't quite join up the way I would have expected them to. So I think I'm gonna click shift and hold those both. And I'm just gonna use my little arrow and I'm gonna move them over until I don't see the crack anymore. There is still sort of a crack. Oh well, that's good enough for me. I'm gonna click save, and you're going to select all 4 of the arcs like you did before, and you're going to object group them. Okay, and then we're going to, while it's selected, hold down Control so it remains a circle, and you are going to size it down so that it will fit inside of your other circle, thus concentric circles. And then I'm pretty sure we're just going to move it right over into the center. You can size it a little bit bigger if you want to, holding down Control. And you can also use your arrows if you want to gently arrow it up or to the left so that it looks centered. And then we're just going to click and drag over the entire thing to select both of the circles. Okay, now you're going to the object menu and you're going to click align and distribute. There it is, all the way at the bottom. All right, in the dialog box, go to the relative to drop down menu and select biggest object. Then you're going to click the center on a vertical axis. And I might have to click save. And then you'll also center it here on the horizontal axis. And I guess all of those little movements that I did were pure perfection because it didn't even budge. Now your center circle is perfectly centered inside the larger circle. All right, hopefully you like the way it looks. If not, you can just go back. You can Control Z and undo whatever you need to do to get it looking the way you want it to. With the two circles selected, you go to Object and Group so that they become one object. And now we're going to go ahead and copy it again. So with this dual circle object selected, hit Control C or Edit Copy. And then you can go over to a blank space on the canvas and Control V. I'm going to right click and just paste it there. You could hit Control V to paste, or what I did. And now there are two new copies. There's another copy of the group circles. And you're going to hold down Control and you're going to squeeze that one down even smaller so that it's going to fit inside of your other concentric circles. So now we have just tons of concentric circles. Hold down Control. Okay, and I'm going to just use my arrow keys to move it up into the side so it looks centered. And I might have to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. Okay, and then just go ahead with your selection tool and select the entire group of circles. And over here in your line and distribute, you can go ahead and click on the center on the vertical axis, and you might have to click save if your RAM runs out, and center on the horizontal axis so that it's perfectly symmetrical. The paste command pastes a copied object size onto a selected object. This changes the selected object size to match the copied object. For example, if you had a large square in a small circle, then copy the large square and then use the paste size command on the small circle, the circle would increase in size to match the large square. You'll use this command to make circles the same size as the different circular shapes in the concentric circle shape next. Hopefully my video wasn't just messed up, but draw that yellow circle. Needs to be a different color than these, and then you're going to grab your selection tool, and they want you to select the smallest circle inside. I don't know that that's going to work on mine. I can't get the smallest one selected, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control C. And then it says to select the circle you drew in step 2. So I'm just going to click on that. Click on the edit menu. Then click paste size. And then click paste size. It's supposed to shrink it down to the smallest concentric circle, but I am dealing with really low RAM, so mine didn't have that effect. Maybe yours will. Okay, so then it wants you to move the circle over. I'm just going to shrink mine down because, like, I can just visualize, you know, what size it needs to be. I didn't need to do all of that. And I can move it over here pretty easily. All right. And then I can click on, I can have that selected and click Object and lower that to the bottom. So that's perfectly underneath the smallest concentric circle. Okay, and I think what they're really wanting us to do is to make some more concentric circles. So I'm going to go ahead and draw another circle, hit Control Z, and make sure you hold down Control. I'm going to eyeball it so that I know that it's going to kind of fit back there. In fact, I'll just go ahead and draw it right here. I have to hit Control so that I know it's the right size. And I can move it over with my arrows if I have my selection tool. and click save enough times. There it goes. Now it's moving up for me, and I can change the color. So what color would I want to do next? I will pick a pretty green color like the design that I wanted to do earlier. File, save, and just click on green. And then you can go to Object, lower to bottom, and now you've got your green. How awesome. Okay, and it looks like we can just continue to do that for the whole project. So I'm going to pause my video really quick well, why pause it? You guys are going to have to do it with me, so I might as well keep it going. Grabbing the ellipse tool, holding down Control, making another circle so that I know that it's the right size, and I'm just going to move it over a little bit so that I know that it's using just little arrow keys on my keyboard, moving it back behind the other one, and I can make that one that pretty blue color that I like. I have to click save to free my RAM, and then just click on the palette and then go Object, lower to bottom. Oh, this is just awesome. Save, grab my ellipse tool. I'll do that again, hold down Control, draw another ellipse, file, save, use my move tool and get that ellipse moved up so that it's right where I want it. Looks great. Change the color of that one. Let's go with a bright purple color. I'm doing a rainbow. Maybe that's a little dull. I want a brighter color. There we go. Okay, and then just go to Object, and you're going to lower that to the bottom. And then I have one more. File, save, grab my ellipse tool, hold down Control, draw your circle, grab your selection tool, move it over. It's looking so good. Okay, and then I'm going to Object, lower that one to the bottom, and I want to change the color of that to something pink. There we go. Guidelines are reference lines that can be used to line up objects. Guidelines can be horizontal, vertical, or any angle in between. You can use as few or as many guidelines as you want, and they can be hidden or unhidden at any time. Guidelines are drawn by selecting and dragging from the top or left rulers. The rulers measure the page in pixels. When you zoom in or out, even though the numbers and lines of the rulers change, the pixel measurements don't change. In Inkscape, guidelines are called guides. You'll draw guidelines to help you arrange your project based on the rule of thirds next. You know what? This project has already taken long enough. I'm just going to go ahead and grab my selection tool. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to do Object, Group. Got it? Perfect. We're going to go File, Save. There we go. There's our SVG file. File, Export Ping Image. Click on this, close when completed. Make sure that it's saving to your Digital 2 folder, and click the green Export button. When it is finished exporting, that dialog box will disappear, and you can go ahead and turn that in